Sephora stores are everywhere you are. So just pop in. When you need a brown lip to match your 90s playlist. A confidence boost before your interview? Or a last-minute gift for mom's birthday. There's always a Sephora near you. Just pop in. Use our store locator to find your local Sephora or Sephora at Kohl's.
Get softer, smoother, and more even-toned skin after just one use with the new Gentle Exfoliating line from Cetaphil. Formulated with a unique triple acid blend that promotes surface skin cell renewal, these gentle chemical exfoliators remove dead skin cells and refine skin's texture while hydrating, resulting in softer, smoother, more even-looking skin. Shop the new Cetaphil Gentle Exfoliating line in the face and body aisles at your local Target store or online at Cetaphil.com.
When you are living in your own little bubble of self-hatred, you're still focusing on yourself. That's still selfish. You're focusing on the things that you wish you could change. Like, what expectations have truly become your identity? Do these thoughts completely take over your mind? These lies just kind of are put in our head by the enemy, and that's something that we just have to use his truth, God's truth, to defend ourselves over these lies. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for clicking on today's episode. My name is Lily. I'm your host, and I'm kind of silly today. I'm in a little bit of a silly mood. I was just laughing here in the living room with Lexi, my sister, and just giggling about nothing. Like, you guys just ever get in those moods where you just can't stop giggling because everything's so funny, and I'm totally in one of those. I feel like now that I'm just by myself, I can laugh at myself, but I can't. I feel like no one can like riff with yourself, but I feel like my silliness is going to die down now that I'm recording the pod, especially with this topic because it's a little bit of a heavier one, but I'm going to try to make it kind of chill, kind of light. I mean, there's no need to like make it hard to talk about. I think that obviously when you think of insecurities, there are things that come to mind probably for you like right off the bat. And a lot of times we place so much importance and not necessarily importance, but we just focus so much on the things that we wish that we could change that it almost becomes our identity. So I want to talk about that today. But before we do get into that, let's just kind of chat, catch up. I guess I'll set the scene for you. I went for a run and I did this nice little like interval workout thing. And it kind of went well. I got this app, and I got it when I taught fitness. I mean, I still do teach fitness, but when I taught at this other studio, and it's called the Interval Timer, and it's a free app, but you just have to like watch an ad before you can actually use the timer, but it's only like 5 to 10 seconds. Yeah, it's literally just called Interval Timer. The app is like a blue timer, and it's like 30 seconds on the timer. And so you open up the app, watch the ad, hit the X, and then you can create your own workout. And so I took a little bit of time off of running because I don't know, I didn't feel great when I ran, and like everything just hurt. And I think I was just like lifting really, really heavy, and I wasn't evening out my workouts, and I definitely wasn't prioritizing recovery. But I kind of took a step back from my workouts the past 2 weeks just because life was insane. Like, if you guys listen to last week's episode, you know that I worked at the boat show here in Annapolis, and it was just a wild 2 weeks, and just in the sense of like I had so much happening and I was never home, and so my workouts just like went out the window. But now that boat show's over and I'm back in my routine, I was like, I gotta add running back in. It's like the perfect running weather now, and it really clears my head. I feel like I have so many thoughts that running or lifting heavy just kind of like turns that portion of my brain off and kind of like tames my stream of ideas and like tames my creativity. And so that's like the only thing that I've ever found that kind of like helps me just to kind of dial in and just focus on the present moment. That and yoga as well. Like when I really have like a great class, like in a studio, great music, great instruction, like hot and sweaty, that's like just the best type of workout. Anyway, long story short, back to my original point. Took a break from running. Now it's my priority to get back into running. Obviously, like run club and stuff. I was walking a lot at run club because I just was like, I can't really like run and talk to people. And so I just was really getting into my head about like my paces and just really like judging myself. I feel like anyone who does anything fitness related goes through these phases of like, I'm doing great, I feel great, my times are great, my lifts are great, I'm eating great, everything's just like falling into place. And then you also go through seasons where you're like, wow, I'm the worst actually, and I just can't make a breakthrough and I'm not having fun doing this. And so it just kind of like comes in waves. And so I was definitely in a phase of like, I'm doing great in the gym, but awful when I'm running. And I just really started to get like insecure about it. And so I just kind of like took a step back and realized like, okay, it's fine to take a break, but then get back into it when you're ready. So I did a nice little interval workout today, and that was nice. It was like run for X amount of time and then take like a 1-minute break. So I did that. And then I kind of did it like a ladder style. I was a swimmer growing up, and so we would always do like 100 meters and then like a 25-meter recovery, and then just kind of like work your way down, 75 meters, 25-meter recovery, whatever it is. So I just did that with running, and it was great. You could also do that with distances. It was easier to just do minutes or seconds, but I just did like a nice little ladder, and then I just did a nice little like TP foam roller stretch sesh. And then at Run Club this week, if you guys didn't know, I co-founded a run club with my little sister. It's called Soul Run Club. It is a faith-based fitness community, and we run and we study the Bible together, and it's a lot of fun. So at Run Club, I'm going to lead that and see what people feel or how people feel, because I feel like it's nice to have like a workout rather than just like, here, go run 3 miles. It's like, it'll be good to have a workout. So we will just kind of see how that goes. I'll keep you guys posted. I really want to do the Bay Bridge run. That's something that that's something that's been on my bucket list for a while. And I feel like this year is the year. I could probably get a team going with the Soul Run Club crew. So if you guys are not involved in Soul Run Club and you live in Annapolis, maybe the DC area, in this kind of like vicinity, send me a DM and let me know if the Bay Bridge run is something that you want to do. Maybe we could get like a little informal team together. That would be kind of cool. I feel like on the show we spend a lot of time talking about, or at least in recent months, we've spent a lot of time talking about body image. We've talked a lot about confidence, and something that I feel like is very prominent, I think, in all stages of life. And we talked about this a lot at Run Club in recent weeks. And so I'm kind of going to go off of a Devo that I guess I wrote. I know I wrote a couple of weeks ago, and just kind of talk through this idea of us putting so much energy into the things that we wish that we could change about themselves. I think that we've all kind of heard the quote. It's like something along the lines of, imagine like how much time we get back in our day if we just stop worrying about all the things that we wish that we could change. And something that I've really found to be true in life is that just because you get the thing, or just because you reach the goal, or just because you lose the weight, or just because you finally look, act, whatever, a certain way, doesn't necessarily mean, and usually doesn't mean, that you're gonna be happy. Usually you just continue to want more. I know for me, I put a lot of energy and time into my own expectations for my identity, whether it was career expectations, physical expectations. I even do this sometimes, like mental expectations, like, oh, I thought that I would feel better today, or I thought that I would be over that by now, or I thought that this person would be in my life in a different way. I don't know, I feel like we always have, at least I always have. I'm trying to get better at not saying like we always, whenever I listen to podcasts, this is a little tangent, whenever I listen to podcasts and the host says something like, I don't know, this is where I struggle sometimes, because obviously we talk about the mind and we get a little like psychology in here, a little philosophy in here, a little theology in here. And I'm not trying to sound like so profound when I make points. And sometimes when I listen to podcasts, I hear these hosts and they're like, we always just need to like lower our expectations because that's when we're going to be the happiest. And then the other hosts are like, yeah, that is so good. And it's like, I'm not trying to be that way, but sometimes when you say like the cheesy quotes and the cheesy things, it's true. But I don't want to be like those cringy podcast hosts that are like, just saying the most generic stuff. And you're like, yeah, that's generic basic advice. Like I need something, and you guys, if you're listening to the show, you probably need something that like makes your brain, like creates new brain cells, because you're just like reconnecting the thoughts in your brain and rewiring the way that you think. And so I hope that that's what this episode does for you. It really took rewiring of my brain to get over some of the things that I used to be so insecure about. And oftentimes these expectations come from the things that we were told growing up, or maybe the things that we see on Instagram, or maybe the things that other people in our lives tell us. In my chapter in Deserts to Mountaintops, I talk about how when I got my first period, I wasn't like a heavy little girl. At least I don't think I was. And when I got my first period, somebody close to me told me that, it was a friend, like, oh, like once you get your first period, like you still have like 2 years to thin out. And like I didn't need to lose weight to begin with. I think I was like 12. And so that stuck with me for the 2-year like timeline. And that thing that was supposed to happen like never did. And that stuck with me, and it still kind of stings. And it just kind of makes me sad thinking back. I was literally 12. Like when I see a 12-year-old now, I'm like, dang, I can't believe that I thought some of the things that I did. And I feel so much, I don't know if hurt is the right word, but just so much concern for the young girls growing up now. Like the world that our kids, like my daughter, if I have one, like the world that she's going to grow up in is going to be so highly concentrated on like just the vanity of life, and especially with social media. Like I could go on and on and on about that, but it just kind of is scary of like how much of a priority we put on image. And that's just really concerning to me, especially when it comes to the high school, middle school, elementary school girls who are just trying to fit in. Like being a girl, I only know from my experience, being a girl in middle high school is hard enough as it is, and it always has been. But doing it while everyone else is watching you, I feel like that's really uncomfortable. That was another little tangent. But anyway, maybe you've told yourself things like, I'll get the guy when I finally lose the weight, or I'll get the guy when I finally gain the weight. Or maybe you say things like, I'll hold on to these pants that I bought when I was, 10 pounds lighter, because it'll encourage me to lose this 10 pounds, even though that was when I was in high school. Like you ever try on your prom dress again from like 5-10 years ago and it doesn't fit? Like, yeah, of course it doesn't fit. You were in high school. Like it's not supposed to fit. You've grown up. Like it's okay. Or maybe you told yourself things like, if only my body looked like hers, then I'll be happy. Or maybe you've told yourself things like, oh, if I have this cookie or this Halloween candy, I am being bad. That's something that I hear all the time. Or I heard all the time, like working in an office space and working in a restaurant. I want to do a whole episode about like what I've learned working in a restaurant, because it's so interesting. But like, I don't hear that, like working in a restaurant. And I don't know, maybe I do a little bit. Most people there just like don't care, and it's awesome.
This is what you do when you've just found that statement handbag on eBay and you want to build an entire wardrobe around it. You start selling to keep buying. Yep, on eBay. Over that all-black everything phase? List it and buy all the color. Feeling more vintage than ever? It's out with the new and in with the pre-loved. Next thing you know, you've refreshed your wardrobe basically without spending a dime. Yeah, eBay, the place to buy and sell new, pre-loved, vintage, and rare fashion.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, no, I was talking to them.
Oh.
Yeah, we're supposed to be telling them about our podcast.
Okay, can you start again?
Yeah. Hello, we are Micah and
Sarah,
hosts of the Fortitude Podcast. You may know us from TikTok or Instagram, where we love to have fun and bring joy to people.
but we've also been through some life experiences that have tested and strengthened us as individuals and as husband and wife.
Yeah, like grief, addiction, gay husband, miscarriage.
And that's just to name a few, but we believe we are called to share about the ways our faith has pulled us through difficulty and the lessons we've learned along the way.
We're going to be answering your questions and having guests on to talk about relationships, relationships, faith, mentality, ultimately all the things in life that make up the human experience.
Because when you're in a tough season, it is so important to know that you're not alone and you are capable of making it to the other side.
You can follow and subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or anywhere you can listen to a podcast.
We love you all and hope each week you will come away encouraged, hopeful, and equipped with something that helps you grow.
If you're driving in the car, like on a walk or something, you probably can't do this. But if you're just around your house, I want you to grab a piece of paper and get really honest with yourself. Like if you have the time to do it, maybe you pause this episode and just think, but what do you tell yourself when you look in the mirror? Like what expectations have truly become your identity? Do these thoughts completely take over your mind? Because there was a time in my life where every time I looked in the mirror, all I thought was, wow, you need to lose weight. Or all I thought was like, wow, your skin is awful. And those were probably the two main thoughts that ran through my head all day, every day. And then it was just like a ripple effect into every other area of my life. Like I wouldn't leave the house some days because I would just feel so gross in my body. And like, that's not the way that you should live life. And it became my identity. The only thing that I would focus on the minute that I woke up in the morning was the things that I was insecure about. And the only thing that I would prioritize was getting rid of those insecurities, like literally whatever it took. And if you're spending all your time and energy and focus on the things that you wish you could change, you're totally missing out. And at the beginning of the episode, I kind of talked about how running, working out, like those are my places that I go to get away from the world. When I worked out, when I ran, when I even cooked a meal, even if it was like the nicest, healthiest meal, all I could think about was, is this going to make me gain weight or is this going to make me lose weight? And which way is it going to go? And how can I make it go the way that I want it to go? And it's just such a twisted, scary, sad mindset to be in when your insecurities are the only thing that you focus on. And I think too, like it's so true that what you focus on is what you become. You know, the whole like yellow car theory of like, oh, if you're looking for a yellow car, of course you're going to see a yellow car. Or if you kind of just like want something to happen, you're always going to look for that thing. The same thing happens with license plates for me. Like probably every 4 to 5 months, I get this urge to like apply to jobs in a random state. And then like driving around town like that day and the next day, I'm like looking for license plates that say like California. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so a sign that I'm going to move to California, but then it like never like happens. And so it's just really funny because I kind of get delusional sometimes and just focus too much on one specific thing. And maybe that's just my brain. Like maybe that's just me hopping from thing to thing and hyper fixating on whatever my current obsession is. But I know for certain, like some of those things are harmless and exciting and just fun and just me being silly and in my 20s and like wanting to just live a wild, full, exciting, interesting, different type of life versus what are the things that I'm telling myself that are building blocks for absolute self-hatred and just failure in general. And so I don't know what those things are for you, but I'm sure you have them. I'm sure we all do. And I'm not saying that I'm completely healed from the things that I wish I could change about myself, but I'm far, 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 far from the girl that I used to be because I have realized that I have to focus on something bigger than myself. When you are living in your own little bubble of self-hatred, you're still focusing on yourself. That's still selfish. That is still so selfish because you're just focusing on the things that you don't have. You're focusing on the things that you wish you could change. And obviously it's good to have goals. It's good to have standards for yourself. And I think especially as someone who loves fitness, was an athlete growing up, I guess I still am an athlete in some capacity, but like it's really easy to get trapped in the training cycle and trapped in the chasing of faster times or better lifts or whatever it is. And I think it's great to have goals, but when those expectations become your identity, you just set yourself up for failure. So where does it change? Where does the switch flip? I think that if you kind of zoom out and look at your life as a whole, are the things that you do on a daily basis a direct reflection of this insecurity? Are the ways that you act towards other people a direct reflection of this insecurity? Are you mean to people? Do you avoid people or certain circumstances because you don't want this insecurity to come to the surface? Do you kind of like hide from people, isolate from people? Like, I don't know, just like go get into your own head for a little bit and figure out what you do. Take a good look at how you act because of this insecurity or because of these insecurities, and kind of evaluate, like, what do you want to change? Because obviously something's not working. If your only focus is an insecurity, there's something that's not working. Something that I started to do, I might have shared this on the podcast. I feel like this is a topic that we talk about a lot, but I just really wanted to do like a dedicated episode on not letting your insecurities become your identity, because it's so important to realize this now, like in your 20s. I can't imagine living the way that I lived in like high school, early college, my like young career, I guess my young 20s. I guess I'm mid 20s now. Like, I can't imagine living that way and feeling that way for the rest of my life. And obviously I've got a ton of growing to do and a ton of life to live, but I can't imagine hating myself for my entire life. And getting to know Jesus was the only thing that cured my insecurities. And it's because I realized that I don't have to be, like, I can just come to him as is. There's really nothing else in life that I've ever found that I just can show up as I am. And so when I started to just flip through the Bible and learn about who God says I am and make that my identity, that's when I really started to see a change in my heart and a change in my life, because I realized that, oh, I'm a child of God. I'm literally God's daughter. And if he's the king, then that makes me a princess. If you really think about it. If he's the king, that makes me a princess. But Psalm 139 says, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. He knows all the hairs on your head. You were knitted together in your mother's womb. Like, just looking through the Bible and reading what God says about me, even if you just do a quick Google search, like, what does God say about me? You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are loved. You are chosen. Like, just all these crazy things. And then I actually started to believe them. Like, that is wild. I put my faith in him, and I got to focus on, and I get to focus on something bigger than myself. And I don't have to create this false identity that's rooted in what I wish I could change about myself. I get to root my identity in him, and root my identity in the love that he provides for me, and root my identity in his plan for my life, not my plan, not the career that I wish I had, or the body that I wish I had, or the relationship that I wish I had. Like, those are all such fleeting things. I get to put my identity in who he says I am. That's the coolest thing ever. You guys always know that I love tangibles. I love takeaways. Here are a few things that you can do to surround yourself with truth, his truth, surrounding your body and your identity. Something that I do still to this day is post sticky notes, like just post Bible verses or quotes or words or whatever it is on sticky notes and put them on my mirror. So I see them when I'm getting ready in the morning or just around the house. I unfollow Instagram accounts all the time. I probably unfollow someone, at least 1 to 2 people every week. If I just don't care what they post, if it doesn't make me feel good, you're out of here, gone. I don't want to see it. And I don't really care. Like, it's Instagram. Or I step away from conversations. This one's kind of tricky because you can't just like walk out of a conversation unless it's one of those situations where you can. But like, be polite about it, but don't engage in conversations surrounding weight loss, weight gain, body image, dieting if you don't want to. I was at a little girls' night, wine night, dinner party thing, and one of my friends was just kind of talking about how like she's gained all this weight and whatever. And obviously I had so much compassion for her. But like, I don't know if it's the capacity, but I didn't have like I don't know, because it's like I was struggling in my own heart and in my own mind. And so I didn't really want to engage in that conversation because I was feeling it too. And I didn't want her insecurities to make mine resurface. And maybe that's compartmentalizing things, but in that moment I was like, I really can't talk about this with you. And just because it was my own problem. So maybe that's like de-escalating a situation. I don't know necessarily like the therapy talk for whatever, the therapy vocab for what that was. But I just gently told her like, hey, I am so sorry that this is something that you're struggling with. But to be transparent, like that makes me feel, I don't know if that's even like the right thing to do. But in that moment, I was just like, I got to step away from this conversation. I was very gentle about it. She was like, oh my gosh, you're totally fine. But just because I was going through something and I didn't want my insecurities to spill out onto her as well. Cause like I could sit here and pick apart my whole body on the microphone, but I might give you guys ideas. I might tell you something that you never thought of before, and that would not be awesome. So anyway, and I think too, that it's really important to remember that just because you're a Christian and just because you love God and you have given your life to Jesus doesn't mean that you are immune to body image struggles. I felt so much shame for a long time thinking that I was a mess up because I didn't love myself. And that's just like, that couldn't be further from the truth. These lies just kind of are put in our head by the enemy. And that's something that we just have to use his truth, God's truth, to defend ourselves over these lies. You are so loved and your insecurities are not your identity. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give it a rating and a review. That just helps more people find and listen to the show. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you next week.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, no, I was talking to them.
Oh.
Yeah, we're supposed to be telling them about our podcast.
Okay, can you start again?
Yeah. Hello, we are Micah and
Sarah,
hosts of the Fortitude Podcast. You may know us from TikTok or Instagram, where we love to have fun and bring joy to people.
but we've also been through some life experiences that have tested and strengthened us as individuals and as husband and wife.
Yeah, like grief, addiction, gay husband, miscarriage.
And that's just to name a few, but we believe we are called to share about the ways our faith has pulled us through difficulty and the lessons we've learned along the way.
We're going to be answering your questions and having guests on to talk about relationships, faith, mentality, ultimately all the things in life that make up the human experience.
Because when you're in a tough season, it is so important to know that you're not alone and you are capable of making it to the other side.
You can follow and subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or anywhere you can listen to a podcast.
We love you all and hope each week you will come away encouraged, hopeful, and equipped with something that helps you grow.